Hey guys, it's me once again. Yeah, it's me. So yeah, we're starting on a picture of this guy. Couldn't be a stranger way to start, but then again, let's be honest, he is one of the ultimate traders, so, you know. Yeah, so, the Skaven, sorry, I just got a message. The Skaven, one of my favorite people to rework just because they're so goofy. Until they get gross, then I look away from it and just listen to the audiobook. Ugh. So the stuff about their undying hunger creeps me the hell out. But either way, they are a funny little group of guys, honestly, to me. Basically, their equivalent to me is like the orcs in 4K because they're just goofy and silly most of the time. Basically, they're so dastardly evil, but they screw up so much. It's like the G1 Decepticons, if you get what I mean, which someone already put. Yeah, they're basically a bunch of Star Screams. So yeah. Other than that, we'll definitely get into this. I know it's been a while since I've done a PancreasNoWorks video, but as I always say, if you want more, then please, please, please subscribe, follow, do all that lovely stuff you do for streamers. And also, if you haven't watched PancreasNoWorks video before this, what? How did you get here? How did you find me? Have you been following me? Anyway, besides that line, let's head into this and learn about the many Skaven clans of the many, many rats.
Warhammer has a lot of rats. There's plenty of normal rats to go around in any of the settings, because be it the 41st millennium or the magical mortal realms, these little critters are hard to get rid of. It's so far only Alberta that has managed to remain free of them in real life. In 40k, there's ratlings, which are granted actually hobbits, but rats in the name and they're little fellas, so they still kinda count. And of course, there's the Skaven, the premier ratman of Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar, and one of the more unique things GW has ever created. God bless the people that decided to give rats machine guns, because that's very fun. But even these despicable
I'll say one thing, naming it Ratling Gunner instead of Gatling Gunner it's a wonderful thing. Just putting rat in front of everything for them is just silly.
Morons have to have some form of organization. Their main idea for things may be throwing rats at a problem until it's solved, but they have to all have some vague agreement that a certain thing is a problem to do that. Thus we come to the various clans of Skavendom. A few of them are different flavors of mad scientists, wielding either technology beyond the realm of sanity or creating the most horrific abominations that would make Frankenstein look tame. Others are sneaky ninjas, darting in and out of the shadows to achieve what they want. And more still subscribe to the time-tested method of outnumbering the enemy 100 to 1 and drowning them with pure weight of rats more than anything else. The clans of Skavendom are beautiful to behold in the way only absolutely horrid things can be, so let's take a look at the different clans of them you can expect to find in the Warhammer world. But before we start, a quick shout out to Minimaker, this video's sponsor. What's Minimaker make? They make minis, dude. It's in the name. 3D printed minis for playing tabletop RPGs or war games with that you could drop off the table and they'll be fine. Minis for displaying.
I'll say one thing about minis is I bought a few for D&D a long time ago and I've never bought any more, mostly because I like playing online more than anything. It's a lot more organized to me and I don't have to keep an eye on a sheet or anything. I know some people might prefer, well, you know, having pen and paper, but I just prefer, well, over computer, mostly because it's just a lot easier, you know? Anyway, back into it.
Nice and pretty on your shelf, minis that are on a budget but still look phenomenal. They've got a quality option for each of those choices, and you have plenty of options of minis to purchase. Just as good as their quality is how they get it to you. All of it's made to order, which means there's no need to worry about either a mini being out of stock or a scalper buying all the stock and then hoarding it like a dragon. You will get what you want, and it'll ship worldwide within 2 to 10 business days. I have waited longer for medical supplies than I did for the minis they sent me. That is not a joke, that is how good their shipping is. And if you have any questions or suggestions, you can reach out to them no problem and tell them what's on your mind. Is something missing from the store? They'll add it as a mini. You can make suggestions for minis to be added and they will add them. If that isn't grade A customer service, I don't know what is. To get in on these phenomenal minis, it's nice and easy. Go to minimaker.com and start shopping. If you buy enough minis, you can even get points to buy more minis with. And if you use code Pancreas at checkout, you get yourself a 10% discount. Head on over to minimaker.com now, use code Pancreas, and get yourself some phenomenal minis today. Now then, time to invest in rat poison. To start off, I should say that there are untold thousands of Skaven clans even before we get to Age of Sigmar, where their numbers started reaching the singularity.
Oh, God. I only thought there were 13 to represent the Council of 13, where they would have a representative from each clan. I did not know how many clans, because, we usually only hear about Clan Moulder, Clan Skryri, and a few others. Clan Pestilence. Ugh. I hate Clan Pestilence so much.
Some of them are truly massive, numbering in the hundreds of thousands of rats. Others are just a few isolated vermin with maybe a single good thing going for them.
Wow.
Most of them, however, take influence from one of the great clans, which is what we'll be talking about today.
Ah,
it's not
the
a
great
hard-set
clans.
rule that the Skaven clans are all copies of a greater one. There's one clan, Clan Rictus, that has its claim to fame in the form of tolls they force on anyone entering or leaving the Darklands.
Oh.
Another, Clan Scurvy, are exactly what you think they
Clan
are,
Scurvy.
pirate rats. There are as
Pirate
many things
rats.
for a Skaven clan to be about as there are Skaven clans out there, because while the rats love to steal things from everyone else, they also get up to plenty of wacky nonsense when left to their own devices.
Yeah.
But the great clans, as you can expect from the name, have such massive amounts of influence that their cultures and more leak into the rest of Skavendom. So for the
sense.
sake of simplicity, we'll focus today on those great clans, as well as one other particular highlight. Starting us off, we have...
Clan Skryri.
Welcome to Rat Raytheon, young engineering major. Say goodbye to your moral code and say hello to making new and
wait.
exciting ways to detonate dwarfs. Fair's fair, though. The words Skaven and moral code were never together to begin with.
For some reason, I keep thinking Clan Skryri is the one that creates Skaven assassins. That's bad on my part. Sorry. I'll get confused. There's a bunch of Skaven clans, and I don't really play them. I should try and play them on Total War, shouldn't I? They seem to be a lot of fun on Total War. Plus, I don't care. They're rats. They're gonna die in battle either way.
Cryer is the wealthiest Skaven clan out of all of them, and one of the four reigning great clans. Their power lays in both the realm of mundane technology as well as arcane might, and given how prevalent warpstone is in Skaven society, those things frequently overlap. To give you an
Yeah.
idea as to how prolific they are, pretty much every Skaven weapon out there was created by these guys.
Yep.
Rattling guns, Jezzails, mortars, warp fire throwers,
Warp
doom
fire
wheels that run
thrower.
down the enemy, artillery cannons that can destroy the moon. If it's anything more than a rusty
Yeah.
spear, it probably came from a Scryer workshop. Don't take that to mean
Yep.
that Clan Scryer only makes weapons, though, because there's plenty of non-violent things they make as well, as much as a shocker as it may sound for a Skaven to make non-lethal creations.
Yeah.
The warp lights that allow the rats to see in their tunnels are
Oh,
another invention
yeah.
of theirs, as is the warp rail that connects the entire
Warp
Empire.
rail?
That's right, the Skaven have subways. It was Clan Scryer digging machines that excavated those rail networks as well. Clan
I see.
Scryer is so powerful and rich because they make the things the lore doesn't focus on, those little things that you logically know need to exist, but they're
Yeah.
boring, so they aren't really talked about. Their influence runs deep because of how widespread their stuff is.
Yep.
And though no Skaven clan has ever quite taken down all the others, Clan Scryer's in a position to cause perhaps the most damage if they went rogue, only matched
Yep.
by one other. Really, they could just stop selling stuff to everyone. The only people that might have the power to force them are the Grey Seers, given that they're the mouth of the Horned Rat and all that.
True.
Everyone else has to pay top dollar for Scryer weaponry,
Such
because
as
for
the
all that
Grey
it
Seer Thankwell. Oh, I need to go more into the books later and read more about him and his silly adventures whenever he encounters Gotrek and Felix. I stopped reading the books for a while, mostly because I got so busy at work that I just didn't have time. But I really do want to get back into them. But other than that, yeah, they really do make everything. And honestly, if they just stopped, they could just, unless someone turned their weapons against them, I don't think you could force them. Even if you did, they could just probably make more.
is still Skaven equipment and therefore prone to exploding, Scryer does good work. Would you rather be a Skaven clan with access to rattling guns or one banned from ever touching one of the things? That's how Scryer stays in business. I was tempted to say that Clan Scryer is one of the more dangerous Skaven clans to be a part of, but then I thought about it, and that's an almost meaningless statement.
Yeah.
All Skaven clans churn through rats like popcorn. That doesn't mean anything to say one is particularly dangerous.
You could end up on the end of making some dude's warp lightning can and get zapped. You could somehow accidentally see their new invention for some kind of toxic gas get turned into a puddle. Hell, being around Clan Pestilence just normally means you're going to get the cough and probably die. I mean, Skaven kill each other for the smallest things, for the slightest slight, all the time. There is no such thing as a safe Skaven. They always kill each other over, well, like I said, they are literally just a faction of Starscreams.
Here's their specific way of getting themselves killed. Because Clan Scryer's all about engineering projects, they naturally spend a lot of time researching. Now, even in the real world, sometimes things go wrong. Just look at the Demon Core. A slip of a screwdriver and everyone in that room became a dead man walking. Clan Scryer is that, but not only do the rats not care if you blow up, sometimes you blowing up is either the point or a happy accident they're going to put more research into. Health and safety protocols do not exist. Such things are not the Skaven way. Clan Scryer's research, even for the most mundane of things, involves a body count of the dozens, if not hundreds. And for some of this stuff, it's absolutely reaching the thousands. I would guarantee you that Rattling guns were tested on thousands of Skaven slaves before they were ever deployed to the field. And Skaven Engineering being what it is, even the non-weapon things they create are probably rickety pieces of garbage that only work just well enough to be sellable to other rats. The life of a warlock engineer and his acolytes are one fraught with peril, not even from other rats necessarily, but from their own deranged experiments. Other rats will, of course, also try to kill them the moment they look like their research is going to succeed, though. Why do all that troublesome research yourself when you can kill the guy who did, copy his notes roughly accurately, and take credit? But all of this is irrelevant. If a warlock engineer can make one moderately successful project, be it a weapon or something like those warp lights to assist the Skaven in day-to-day life with, he will be rich beyond his beliefs as he milks it for everything it's worth. More importantly for the whole, Clan Scryer will be able to profit from his inventions as they sell it to the rest of the Under Empire. 10,000 dead slaves and a few dozen dead warlocks is nothing compared to the amount of warp tokens that can be raked in as a result of a new invention.
It doesn't matter.
Every warlock wants to be the one to invent it and take credit for it, more importantly. And Scryer technology, for how unreliable
they kill each other over just taking credit. Quite literally, all they're doing... Like, it doesn't matter how many Skaven die as long as the invention is eventually successful. That is the way of the Skaven, evidently, for all of them.
Genuinely more advanced than anyone else's. The dwarfs will occasionally use oil in some projects like their gyrocopters and the Spirit of Grungni, and they do have some trains. The Skaven, meanwhile, have invented Skype, underground rail networks, and energy weapons. Even from their point of view, Scryer tech can be unreliable, but that's where the difference between people and Skaven comes in. A human army outfitting their soldiers with weapons that have a 1/3 chance of exploding would be seen as cruel and evil, as well as just wasteful. To the Skaven, who cares if they explode? As long as Scryer stuff kills at least a few enemies before it takes out your gunners, and it's almost certainly reliable enough to do at least that, it did the job it needed to. Of course, the likelihood of something going wrong tends to scale with how grand a piece of tech it is, but that just means you have to be farther away from it when it's deployed. And really, did you want to be next to the Warpstone nuclear bomb when it went off anyways? Clan Scryer is in fantasy ruled by Morskatar. There's not much known about this rat, but as a member of the Council of 13, you can safely assume he's incredibly smart, dangerous, and cunning. In fact,
I have never heard of Morskatar, but then again, I don't really hear much about any member of the Council of 13, so I guess it's expected.
He's over 400 years old and once was able to declare himself the Emperor of Skavenblight during their second civil war.
Wait,
Scryer
what?
technology may be the only thing keeping him around, but at the end of the day, it is keeping him around, proving his capability as an engineer. And by virtue of being a Skaven 400 years old, you can assume he knows how to handle any upstart underling acolytes that might try and take credit from him. Or as it were, keep him from taking their credit. For one last thing, I would theorize that Clan Scryer interacts with non-Skaven non-violently more often than most other clans do. Because the thing about Skaven research and development is that it as often as not, it involves stealing stuff from the other races. If they can get their hands on a dwarf cannon, they don't have to go through the rigmarole of designing a whole cannon. They just have to jam it full of warpstone and see what happens when they fire it. So it benefits them to be, if not sneaky, then much more directed with their assaults. Non-violently interacting is definitely not the best way to put it, but essentially they aren't attacking you because it's part of a glorious scheme to bring about
they just want to steal your stuff.
Power. Not just because of that anyways. They probably just want your stuff and are more than happy to kill you to get to it.
Clan Moulder, yes.
The other mad scientist clan, this one being for the Frankenstein Fellows. An ancient clan, their
Yeah.
origins date back as far as negative 1450 in the
Negative
Imperial
14.
calendar, when one of the surviving Skaven, after they accidentally blew up most of the Under Empire, marched northwards and founded the city of Hellpit. With the area being right on the border of Norska, and therefore close to the Chaos Wastes, all sorts of lovely abominations can already be found here. The forebearers of Clan Moulder took one look at all these monsters and thought to themselves, how can we make them even worse? The capital of Hellpit is rich with warpstone as
Also, how can we turn them into a rat somehow? Because let's be honest, anytime they turn anything, it's into some kind of giant rat or rat something. I don't know the reason. Maybe it's because they view Skaven as just above everyone. That's probably the reason, but yeah, I'm not sure why they turn everything into rats.
well, further allowing them to do their grisly work. Clan Moulder has sure enough become a great clan by virtue of how many different kinds of beasties they create in their lab to sell. Their packmasters will scoop up any suitably interesting creature they find and take it back to a Master Moulder's lair to experiment on.
Good lord, the Hell Pit Abomination. It is something truly horrifying. It's barely stitched together and barely lives.
An experiment is only the word I'm using because I can't really think of a better one. Torture is a good way to describe it, in all honesty. They'll just poke and prod in a creature's insides, adding and removing bits to see what happens, and then when it almost inevitably dies, they'll round up another one and start over again. This is one of the more horrific of Skaven clans because of the focus on biological experiments. When Clan Scryer experiments with a new piece of tech, the danger is that it'll blow up in their face. When Clan Moulder has a new formula for warp steroids to test, they're kidnapping animals and people to experiment on with. Though any clans can do it, Clan Moulder is one that especially likes to go up and kidnap entire villages Dark Eldar style. One second everyone is going about their day, the next the village is a ghost town. The buildings are untouched, food can still be found half-eaten on plates, but all the people are gone, spirited away to Hellpit to be turned into something horrific. Hellpit itself is layered like a cake, or more accurately layered like hell in Dante's Inferno. 9 different levels of atrocities await anyone coming to this place, naturally getting worse and worse as you go down further. Just to get in, there's a river of lava you have to pass, guarded by a rat guardian who glows bright green with warpstone. After that, you start running into all sorts of nasties created by the smartest of Master Moulders. To be quite frank, if you're here, you're either going to become one of those nasties or become food for one of those nasties. Though if you're real unlucky, you might get molded into the walls of Hellpit. They can do that apparently, and yes, you are still alive and in agony when it happens. For what practical purpose this serves, I don't know, because Skaven aren't like the Dark Eldar in that they get physical and spiritual nourishment from suffering like that. I think they genuinely just like doing that to people. All of this is supported by Clan Moulder.
They don't get nourishment from it, let's be honest. It's probably either rewarding or more or less something to scare other people. Or they're just doing it for fun, because Skaven, like I said, they are pure evil. So you don't really feel bad with a Skaven when they, when you destroy them. Because Skaven are just the worst. Good lord. Like, they're goofy guys, but like with the orcs of 40k, when they get rolling, they can be horrifying. But yeah.
Or selling their creations to other races. Everyone wants a kaiju on their side in a war, and Clan Moulder is making, if not Godzilla, then at least a decent approximation of him, with a ratty theme for flavor. The least impressive thing they export are just hungry rat swarms, likely slightly mutated at least by warpstone exposure and general experimentation. Though most Skaven can't actually control rats, some Moulder packmasters can, and will send them scurrying towards the enemies of Skavendom for an appropriate price. Others are far more obvious in their value. Rat ogres are aptly named and can tear apart the enemies of the Skaven, as well as other Skaven, and Clan Moulder charges a high price because of this.
Of course.
They know everyone wants one. Hellpit abominations are the cream of the crop, costing the highest price, but also being one of the most powerful weapons a Skaven warlord could hope to command. If you'll excuse some more theory crafting, I would have to assume that part of Clan Moulder's marketability is that once you buy a creature, it's pretty low maintenance. Just throw it in a big enough cage or hole and feed it some Skaven stings every now and again. Easy peasy. Whoever has to let it out when it's time for war is also probably getting eaten, but such is the life of the humble clan rat. Clan Moulder is also perfectly happy to do custom jobs if you ask them politely and bribe them enough. Master Moulders are nothing if not artistic with the liberties they take when experimenting on living creatures. Maybe you want
artistic in air quotes, because dear God, some of these creations are truly horrifying. Oh, your god.
And your monsters to be especially armored. Thicker skin and metal can be bolted onto it for just a measly few dozen more extra warp tokens. Maybe you want your monsters to also have guns. Well, that's gonna run you the big bucks since that was a clan scry or collaboration project, but
Yep.
stormfeeds are wanted perhaps more than even rat ogres, so that can be done too. But maybe you're also a free-spirited rat and want your clan Moulder contact to do whatever he wants and show you the result. He's gonna happily march back to his workshop, spin a wheel a few times, and add whatever it lands on to his monstrous creation.
Good
You're either
lord.
going to get upcharged to high hell because he'll lie to you about the work that went in, or you may get a special discount for letting an aspiring artist work on his magnum opus. Either
Artist.
way, it's guaranteed to be horrific, and it'll probably be lethal to at least the first person you sick it on. The Skaven of Clan Moulder themselves are an odd bunch, especially mutated by chaos waste energy as well as constant warpstone exposure, even by Skaven standards. Rampant hunger,
Yeah.
extra limbs, and more are not uncommon to see.
Oh,
and
definitely.
sometimes the line between Clan Moulder Mutant and Clan Moulder Creation is functionally irrelevant. Throt the Unclean has 3 arms, warpstone jammed in his eye, and in his own words, endless hunger. The Pack Lord
Oh,
of Moulder's
yeah.
Verminkin, who sits on the Council of 13, is technically 2 rats sharing one lumpy, misshapen, mutated body.
What?
They frequently argue with each other and would no doubt try to kill each other if it weren't for the fact that aside from the 2 different heads, they've all got the same organs. Fratricide is a
Oh, god. Even fratricide with their own, with 2 heads. I guess for Skaven, really, 2 heads really aren't better than 1, because goddamn. That also reminds me of a character from Venture Brothers that I can't think of the name of yet. But yeah, them just trying to kill each other and hating being on the council together is kind of funny. Do they share 2 seats? They probably share 1 seat, let's be honest here.
lot harder to pull off when it's also suicide. One last thing of note is that Clan Moulder is the best place to be a physically frail Skaven. If you have brains, they'll support your endeavors, not because they actually care about you, but because a smart, if physically weak, Master Moulder can still create profitable monsters.
Oh,
To
definitely.
be absolutely clear, this is not charity. If you can't immediately prove you're smart enough or capable enough in some way to make up for being a runt, you are now food for someone's monsters. But
Oh,
if you
yeah.
can quickly prove your brain is worth the lack of brawn, they'll probably keep you around.
Clan-ish.
Master
English.
Splinter hasn't been the same since he took a trip to the Chaos Waste.
Oh my god.
Started smoking crack. Clan Eshin is the stealthy
Eshin.
branch of
Oh,
the
I
Skaven
said it
Under
wrong.
Empire, specializing in everything from
Assassins.
hit-and-run tactics and war to high-stakes espionage and assassination. Calling any one Skaven clan the most feared is tricky because they can all do horrid things to you.
Oh,
at cost,
definitely.
But the threat of a Clan Eshin assassination is something that always hangs over any properly paranoid
Oh,
Skaven
yeah.
warlord's head. Founded by Lord Visktrin, who never got to see the heights his clan would reach on account of running into a dragon, Clan Eshin's forebears traveled far to the east to Cathay and Nippon. There, for reasons that I simply cannot fathom, some of them decided it was a good idea to teach these mangy, rabid, evil rats how to be ninja assassins.
Why?
There's even more that at one point a Clan Eshin member was an advisor to Cathay. The Dragon Emperor must have been on a bender when that was allowed.
Yeah, what the hell, Cafe? You don't... I guess they didn't know really anything about Skaven at this point, because holy hell, you don't train them or give them anything. They don't care. They're going to use it against you in some way.
For a while, they were thought lost to Skaven kind, but after a few hundred years, they slunk back into Skaven blight, set up a den, and became the chief spies and assassins of Skavendom. Clan Eshin, much like the rest of the Skaven, have 2
Essential.
modes, but they're particularly pronounced with these guys. They have comedy mode and utter horror mode.
Yeah.
For the former, where else but Gotrek and Felix displays it the best.
Oh, I
when some
remember this
Clan
one.
Eshin gutter runners tried to assassinate Gotrek and Felix, they barely made it to Gotrek. And this was in the early
Yeah.
books, so it was before Felix was properly terrifying in his own way. Even in spite of that, the entire assassination attempt reads like a Three Stooges bit. Rats tripped over
Yeah.
each other, tripped over furniture, tripped over Felix, tripped onto their weapons. The entire event...
If you ever get a chance, read Skaven Slayer or listen to an audiobook of it. They have a few over here on YouTube. It's great. It's great just hearing them clumsily bunch over each other.
probably only took about 20 seconds, and by the end of it, almost all of the rats were dead. Their
Oh,
leader
yeah.
escaped, only to later be obliterated by Thanquol for the crime of being vaguely annoying to Thanquol. On the other
Yeah.
hand, enter Deathmaster Snikch. Deathmaster Snikch is like a
Oh yeah, I should also mention there's a funny bit where since they're invading the hotel, that Gothic affiliates are staying at, it's also filled with other warriors and other kinds of people. So what happens is, as soon as they see the Skaven, you just see all the participants or all the people living at the hotel, I should say, or tavern, just all start bringing out their weapons, starting hunting the Skaven down themselves. It's funny.
Rat version of the alien from Alien. He wields 3 swords of warpstone to super kill enemies dead. He can supposedly teleport using shadows and come out of them at will. He supposedly once assassinated an Empire official, yet the guy's door was locked the whole time and that was the only entrance, so how the hell did he get in?
Yeah.
He supposedly can be anywhere at any time and you'll never know.
God.
All of this supposedly talk is intentionally cultivated by Clan Eshin's higher-ups because it adds to his terrifying reputation. Clan Eshin assassins completely unrelated to Snitch will carve his mark on the bodies of their targets just to further his legend. Presumably they don't complain about this because they're worried Snitch might pay them a visit for trying to rise above their station. For all that they are assassins, they do still have units to play as large groups on tabletop.
That actually might be in reference to the Assassin, where I believe people took the name of the old man in the mountain to give the myth that he basically has been living forever. That might not, I could be getting that wrong, but Freya, tell me if I am. I always love to learn more history, even if I am actually wrong. But yeah, this is a very interesting way to further a legend.
Night Runners are skirmishers that have been given the barest amount of stealth training and taught how to throw shurikens and pointy rocks at people. This training, mind you, includes stealing money from blind homeless people. It has been noted that sometimes these homeless are apparently not only not blind, but proficient in martial arts. Clan Eshin is either rampantly incompetent on most levels or exclusively trains against out-of-work D&D adventurers. Feel free to assume whichever is funnier to you is true. Gutter Runners, meanwhile, are when a Clan Eshin rat can just about grasp concepts like actually sneaking, and are therefore much more dangerous. They can be armed with more than just weapons. Poison is a common thing for them to carry, as well as nets to trip enemies up on the battlefield or in their rooms to make the kill all the easier. And of course, a full-blown Eshin assassin is where the jump from goofy rat person to Michael Myers if he was a rat occurs. In day-to-day life, Clan Eshin deals in information gathering as much as killing people. Information is a valuable commodity, especially in the treachery-ridden Skaven world, and Clan Eshin will sell out their services to spy on rival Skaven warlords to anyone who can meet their price. Of course, they also may be on the payroll of the guy you're trying to spy on, so caution is always warranted. The Council of 13 makes frequent usage of Eshin services, spying on those near and far for their interests. Their den in Skaven Blight is a fairly humble thing, but no one knows what goes on inside of it. Any Skaven that wanders too close tends to disappear, and you can assume all sorts of Home Alone-style traps with a lot more lethality in mind absolutely litter the place. They appear incredibly unified by Skaven standards, but that might just be because we rarely see the inner machinations of the clan. When a Clan Eshin character makes an appearance in a book, they're just as cowardly as other Skaven, so they'll certainly still sell out their fellows to save their own skin. It might just be we don't see the dissent in infighting common in other Skaven clans because they hide it very well. It's a lot harder to be horror movie villains when everyone knows your group is just as full of bumbling morons as theirs is. Clan Eshin overall is a fairly mysterious clan with only so much to be discussed, but I want to make it clear that they are to the rest of the Skaven an utterly terrifying force. When the Second Skaven Civil War broke out, they were able to not only remain neutral in the conflict as a whole, but hired themselves out to all sides and make a profit without getting retaliated on en masse. In the first book of Thanquil's omnibus, he regarded the local ruler of Clan Eshin and Under Altdorf as the greatest single threat he had to face, at least in terms of combatants. That is how terrifying the Skaven of Clan Eshin are to the rest of the Under Empire. And though it was end times nonsense, it was Deathmaster Snitch who snuck into Thorgrim's escape chamber and killed him because he left the door open. They really can be anywhere, and you may only know you've been targeted by Eshin when an assassin comes to snuff out your life. Oh, and they also really love poison. There's a rat named Ricket Tick that's compiled a way to kill almost everything in the Warhammer world, mostly with poison. Funny thing is, he sat down with some Imperial scholar and casually told him all about his knowledge. I don't think he even killed the guy afterwards. He just really loved talking about his craft, and his craft happened to be poisoning people. That's oddly sweet, isn't it? At least by Skaven standards.
Clan Pestilence.
This is the other Skaven clan that provokes a sense of fear in Skaven outside of it. However, where Clan Eshin does it by having the potential to jump scare you at any given moment, the fear of Clan Pestilence comes from two distinct sources. One is their defining feature, that being their diseases, but the other is something I bet you didn't expect to hear shouted outside of 40k or maybe by witch hunters. heresy. The most obvious trait about Clan Pestilence is their disease-ridden everything. The origins of the clan come during a period of expansion and migration. Their forebearers, whose original clan
I also want to bring this in the Skaven book when we were dealing with the Clan of Pestilence one, because the book switches basically it's third person omniscient, so they kind of switch point of views all the time. Sometimes there was one Clan Pestilence member that just had his finger rot off into like the whatever the hell he was making, and he was totally fine with it. These guys are gross as hell.
Is lost to time, ventured under the oceans themselves for generations. This was generations in Skaven terms granted, so like a couple of decades, but that's still a pretty decent amount of time. When they finally arrived at their destination, they realized across the ocean lay the land of Lustria. Lustria, the home of the Lizardmen, is not exactly receptive to outside guests.
Oh yeah.
The land itself is a murderous jungle, like Catachan and 40k, if the whole thing was also magical. Plus, the Lizardmen are space marine-sized lizard people that can and will rip you apart for showing up. They lucked out on avoiding the Lizardmen, but when they arrived at the ruined city of Ketsa, the local disease ravaged the clan. At a certain point, barely 100 of them remained, and from here the lore diverges into what I personally call the Fun Skaven route and the GW Hard-On for Chaos route. In the Fun Skaven route, they began worshipping the diseases that ravaged them. If these diseases were ravaging them so, it must be the Horned Rat's will, and so they would instead embrace this disease as the true aspect of their deity, that of a filthy, disease-ridden carrier of destruction. In the Hard-On for Chaos route, there was a great unclean one under the city they started worshipping as an aspect of the Horned Rat. Same end result, but one is more Skaven insanity and an alternative to Nurgle if you like diseases, whereas the other is more of chaos actually being the origin the whole time. Regardless, their numbers grew. They cultivated quite
in every single video game of 40k that I know of, chaos always ends up being the great reveal villain. Ooh. Like, how many games are you thinking of that just happens? Like, if they're not the threat at the beginning, they're gonna be the threat at the end. Even I get a bit tired of it. Anyway.
The knowledge of disease, and after a while they returned back to the old world and Skavendom proper. When they showed back up, they immediately demanded things like territory and breeding rights, because Skaven are awful, massive amounts of warpstone as tribute, because Skaven are greedy, and a seat on the Council of 13, because you might as well shoot for the moon. Predictably, everyone told Clan Pestilence to piss off. Rather less predictably for the Skaven, Pestilence responded with biological warfare and swarming them with plague monks. Initially, it was expected that Clan Pestilence could be swiftly dealt with via the old reliable method of rattling gun spam. Then the disease got worse. Then Clan Pestilence obliterated an entire clan in the Southlands. Then hundreds of clans switched over to Pestilence's side. Of course, this is still a Skaven civil war. Much like their engineering, things will go wrong at any possible chance, and in this case it occurred when Clan Eshin had nearly every clan warlord of those that sided with Pestilence assassinated. With this rather upsetting turn of events, Pestilence pleaded for a meeting. It was granted, and the Lord of Pestilence, Plague Lord Nurglich, even managed to actually reach the Council of 13 through the swarm of assassins they sent his way. He was allowed to challenge for a seat on the council, and when he threw the weakest council member off the top of a tower, Clan Pestilence was allowed a seat and became one of the great clans. They would go on to be responsible for the near destruction of both the Empire and Bretonnia through the Black Plague and Red Pox respectively, though both examples eventually also burned through the Skaven ranks at the height of their campaigning and eventually resulted in a second Skaven Civil War. This one was resolved with the Horned Rat personally coming in to make sure everyone almost started behaving, but Pestilence kept their status and power they had gained up to this point.
I've never heard the clan, the Great Horned Rat actually intervening in Skaven affairs like this. Huh.
Yes, by the way, you heard that right. The Black Death in Warhammer Fantasy was caused by rats. Just so happened to be on purpose this time around. Clan Pestilence is perhaps the Skaven clan least concerned with personal glory. To be sure, they will take credit for themselves, but at least amongst characters like Lord Skrulk, they'll try and do things for the glory of Clan Pestilence and themselves. To them, the Horned Rat is especially worshipped, as he is their sickly master who will bring ruin to all those who deny his plagued gifts. Working somewhat together will bring the ascension of not only him, of course, but Clan Pestilence as well. This is where the second part of fear against against them comes in.
Their
Most Skaven view
diseases.
this as a highly heretical stance to take, breaking tradition with how the Horned Rat truly is to be viewed. The problem is Clan Pestilence is, if nothing else, powerful enough to keep themselves around after 2 massive civil wars.
Yeah.
So one way or another, calling them heretics
them.
in the street and trying to kill them will just result in that Skaven's death. The other more obvious thing is that they're so disgustingly filthy and disease-ridden that standing near them
Yeah.
can cause you to melt into sludge. Non-pestilent Skaven
Yeah.
are no safer from this than other races, so it's also for practical purpose that this clan is kept at an arm's reach. Clan Pestilence will occasionally try and cook up some super plague to infect the world
definitely.
with, such as with the Red Pox or Black Death. They tried it in Nuln, but that was during a Godric and Felix novel, so you
Yeah.
can guess how that panned out for them. When it's time to come out in force, however, they rush down their enemy with countless infected rats that are actually bolstered by their diseases, and the rabid fervor of Clan
kinda
Pestilence
really
means
gross.
that they'll run away far later than most other Skaven would. In the end times, this is how they took down the Lizardmen. The magical defenses set up were perfectly tailored to prevent any
poor
demon from
Lizardmen.
invading the continent. They were not, however, set up to prevent millions of rats fresh out of Asmongold's basement from invading the land of the lizards. For a final note on them, the obvious connection I brought up pretty quickly. Nurgle. There's a weird relationship between Pestilence and Nurgle.
Yeah.
Indeed, how much he's involved is up for debate. There is that whole thing about a great unclean one essentially creating Clan Pestilence, and for God's sakes, the leader of Clan Pestilence has, to my knowledge, always been called Nurglich, followed by whatever number of Nurglich we're on. On the
Weird.
other hand, the Horned Rat has repeatedly entered the mortal world, and Clan Pestilence is still allowed to exist. You might
Yeah,
say
so
that
he
maybe
hasn't killed
Nurgle's too
them.
powerful for him to interfere, but Nurgle was at home and the Horned Rat was in their face. I see no reason that
Yeah.
he couldn't interfere if that's what he truly wanted to and get
Yeah,
rid of the
I can
clan.
agree with that.
So instead, here's some ideas for you to think about. Maybe Nurgle did start Pestilence, but as a disgusting asshole rat, the Great Horned Rat sort of adopted them, and now they feed him. Maybe that was never the case, and the Great Horned Rat was always their daddy. Or maybe it's a sort of team project between Nurgle and the Horned Rat.
Possibly.
Skaven have worked with others before, and they joined up with Chaos in the end times to save their own skins. Of course, betrayal is inevitable if that's the case, but that's
Oh,
just more
yeah.
Skaven shenanigans to be had.
That's normal.
And whatever the specifics, Clan Pestilence seems to be here to stay. Keep your toilets close by, friends, because diarrhea is sure to follow these rats' footsteps.
I don't need to think about that. Clan Morse.
The final Skaven clan we'll talk about is Clan Moors. Now, I'm going to describe them to you, and the thought might creep into your mind that, holy shit, these are
Quick
Skaven
head
good
taker.
guys. False. Incorrect. Remove that notion from your mind.
There's no
there
such
are no
thing.
Skaven good guys. Such
Yeah.
a thing does not exist. The Skaven of Clan Moors are, however, perhaps the closest thing they've ever come to having something resembling a functioning code of ethics and morals. Best way
Wow.
to put it is, while the Skaven as a whole are chaotic evil, Clan Moors is lawful evil. The Skaven of Clan Moors, even those from once rival clans, usually end up praising the leader of Clan Moors quickly,
Really?
Lord Nodwell. As a member of the Council of
Alright.
13, it's
Let
a
me go
safe
back. I want to hear that name again. Just in case I've probably never heard before.
clans usually end up praising the leader of Clan Moors quickly, Lord Nodwell. As a member of the
Nodwell.
Council of 13, it's a
Lord
safe,
Nodwell.
if wrong, assumption to make that Nodwell is using all sorts of tactics, from fear to bribery and coercion, or even magical means to keep his clan so loyal to him. In reality, Clan Moors has discovered something the rest of the Skaven have yet to conceptualize.
That is?
If you treat your basic clan rats with something almost resembling decency, they will support you over the assholes who throw them into the grinder
Yeah.
with a rusty pipe and a command to either fight and maybe die, or run and definitely die. And if you arm them almost halfway acceptably, they can fight better. In Clan
Oh,
Moors,
yeah.
if you can be in any way useful, they will find a use for you, and rewards to fit that use.
Wow.
Only traitorous or truly feeble Skaven will be found as Skaven slaves amongst Clan Moors. Treachery, speaking of, is actually frowned upon. If you stab your superior in the back and ruin a
Wow.
battle plan, you're getting sent to the slave pits. Of course, if your commander is actually incompetent, or you can make him appear incompetent, then by all means see him killed.
Wow, this really is the closest to competent Skaven that they actually have as a clan.
Clan Moors aren't good guys, remember. There are still plenty of Skaven slaves to be found there.
Oh,
it
yeah.
mostly reminds me of a Skaven version of Spartan-style training in regards to how they view treachery. If you can get away with it, you're probably more cunning than the last guy and deserve the spot.
It's like
But for
Sith.
the non-Skaven slaves, Clan Moors is downright accommodating. Even the basic clan rats are allowed to live in decent-ish barracks and are given weapons and proper training. This has resulted in several things going for them that have caused Clan Moors to have a rather triumphant rise to power. In-house, Clan Moors quickly gains the loyalty of any Skaven they capture. Those that surrender immediately are allowed to become members of Clan Moors, and when they see the benefits it offers, they're happy to join. Because unwanted treachery is met with severe punishment, most of the Skaven in Clan Moors behave themselves more often than not. Out of house, part of the allure of Clan Moors is that a Skaven can hope for a better life. An actual proper career path of doing your job and being promoted through the ranks is entirely possible. It's worked so well that there's worries amongst the other Council of 13 members that even if they have Nodwell assassinated, Clan Moors will just pop out another Skaven to replace him and things will continue on as normal for Moors. There's also the morale drainer of other Skaven realizing who they're fighting. Because more Skaven are actually trained, they tend to fight far more effectively and for far longer without routing. This has in turn given them some good early victories that give them a reputation as fierce combatants. This in turn makes people afraid of Clan Moors because they have a reputation for being fierce combatants, which is again at least partially earned. So when Clan Moors comes knocking, many lesser clans will outright surrender. This not only bolsters Clan Moors with more Skaven that will soon be trained to Clan Moors standard, but is yet another victory for Clan Moors to wave around and cow other Skaven into submission with. Their greatest feat yet has undoubtedly been their conquest of the lower levels of Carrick 8 Peaks. Known as the City of Pillars to the Skaven, it's become a vital hub of transportation across the Under Empire. Clan Moors controls at least the lower levels and will make any Skaven attempting to cross it or set up shop pay handsomely. It also means they're constantly fighting both night goblins and dwarfs, owning the skills of this clan's military even further. Speaking of, when deployed to battle, Moors can do a little bit of everything, but they're most well known for their regimented and elite soldiers. Clan Moors storm vermin are a cut above the rest, and even their lowly clan rats can fight in something resembling the cohesion of an Empire State Troop company. Were it not for the end times, Clan Moors would very likely have been either a driving force in Skaven society for change, or at the very least the catalyst of yet another Skaven civil war. And if you don't mind me saying, I would bet that Clan Moors would be the first time the powers to be of Skaven Blight didn't come out on top. Clan Moors are not good guys. At their kindest, they don't view their fellows as comrades, but as tools to be cultivated, which is still leagues above other Skaven. Such as Queek Headtaker's relationship with Nodwell, that of a prized attack dog to be thrown at his enemies. But once again, it's far better than what the rest of Skaven has to offer. As for Age of Sigmar, all the great clans have become types of clans. So now it isn't just Clan Eshin, for instance, but the Clans Eshin. They all still act the same way, though. A Skaven is still a Skaven, even if their branding has been diluted just a bit. The only odd man out amongst these clans is Clan Moors, who seem to have vanished. That being said...
Clan Moors vanished? Oh, so I really like the armor Clan Moors use here. It's a really cool design to me.
The clan's verminous seem to be the replacement, and indeed have the same basic shtick of Skaven clan that has better normal troops, so maybe they just rebranded themselves to celebrate the new setting. And those are the major clans of the Skaven. Some a bit more regimented, some a bit more technological, all complete and utter assholes. And remember, even the weakest of Skaven clans can be found right underneath your house at this very moment. Thank you as always, my wonderful channel members. You are the great clans to my Skaven Under Empire, standing out just that little bit prouder than all the rest. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching and take care out there.
I'm waiting at the end just to... He has a lot of patrons. Good lord, man, your patrons keep growing. I wish I could have even slightly half that number. Okay, is it just going to...
Alright, you gotta pick one. You either have to fight one Storm Vermin, or 10 Skaven slaves on the verge of death by starvation. I'm taking the Storm Vermin. Logically, he's probably quite well fed and could kill me, but I bet I can talk my way out of it. Not by appealing to his morals or anything. God, no, he's still a Skaven. But I bet I can BS my way into convincing him there's a Grey Seer right behind him, or that his stash of warp tokens has been discovered. Either way, I can then get out of there. Those 10 Skaven slaves, meanwhile, may all go down in a single hit, but they're gonna be vicious and ready to die for the slightest bit of food, which would be me. Even if I do win that fight, I'm coming out of it with rabies at the least.
You're coming out with a few pieces moving at least there. But yeah, learning about the great Skaven slaves is always... Great clans is always interesting. I don't know as much as I'd like to, but I know a bit more now. And yeah, I like the design of the armor from Clan Moore. Clan Pestilence and Clan Moulder, though, I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. Anyway. Thank you all so much for stopping by. If you like what I'm doing here, please, please, please come by. Or please like, comment, subscribe. If you want more, comment down below. And I gotta ask, what is your favorite Skaven? Do you have a favorite Skaven? Do you have a favorite Skaven clan? Do you think some of their designs are cool and interesting? I like some of the ones from Skariri. And most of the ones from Morris, as I said before. So anyway, I'll see you all later. And take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.